Hi.
Can you give those out on statements in 5 members?
Okay,
Should I come to you sooner?
I'm gonna have to go make a copy because we need one for the record.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
You want to make a copy?
Yeah, you just make one.
How many, are there?
Five, four.
Like four?
Instead of a split, just the numbers that we need. So, that's. Two-sided. Actually, makes two.
I'm gonna make it, coming up here.
Okay.
And it's not a reader for me.
Yes. Yes.
I think half of it like 6, like. We are live.
Are we live now? Okay, great.
Yeah.
I call this meeting of the special committee on the environment and resiliency to order. My name is Julie Vanderbilt. I'm the chair of the committee. And councilwoman for Ward 3. Please take the roll.
Chairperson Antoine.
I'm here.
Vice Chairperson Sanchez.
Here.
Councilwoman Anthony.
Here.
Councilman Espinal.
Present.
Councilor Williams.
Present.
We have 5 present. We have a quorum.
Awesome, thank you so much. I also want to thank the clerks for everything they do. That solicitor's office here today. And we have Tricia from our policy team here as well to help us out. So I don't think I can see anyone on the staff. But if I am, I'm really sorry. But we have some great presentations today, so I'm gonna not talk very much. I just want to welcome all of our amazing guests and speakers today. We are focusing today on composting and waste diversion. As the committee knows, the circular economy and waste diversion is a big part of our climate justice plan and how we're going to implement that in the city. And there's a lot of really amazing stuff happening around expanding composting, expanding community level composting in all of our neighborhoods. I heard from quite a number of folks doing really great initiatives. We're interested in sharing that and their recommendations with the council. So we invited them here today. We also have a lot of students, so I'm super pumped. Welcome to the Bishop shirts from Ward 3. But without further ado, can we please read item number 1 into the agenda?
Presentation and discussion relative to composting and waste diversion in the city. Invited speakers, Warren Heyman, Stuart Martin, and Carla Dowdy, Zero Waste Providence.
Awesome. And so Carlos and Zero Waste and then Warren and Stewart are separate. And we're actually going to start with Warren and his team because he's got a lot of students here. There he is. Yeah. So Warren, if you want to come to the table and then any of your co-presenters.
Okay.
And then before. Yeah, if you could say your name for the record. So whenever people pop in, if you could have your name.
So my name is Warren Neiman. I'm the organizing director for the Rhode Island School Recycling Project. And this is Kelly DeAngelis, who's a facilitator with us. And we have many students and others who are going to speak. So Kelly and I are going to just sort of set the table. And then we'll bring all the students and they can do their presentation. I want to first start by thanking you, committee chairwoman, and your committee for inviting us here. We appreciate the opportunity. And I want to say hi to my mom, who's in New York, who's 91, who's currently watching us.
She's on.
So we have a very brief PowerPoint. So we're with the Rhode Island School Recycling Project. Next slide, please. So as you probably know, food waste is a huge problem in our city, our state, and our country, and around the globe. A third of the food that is produced on the farm is thrown out. They grow it, they ship it, they process it, it goes to our homes and restaurants and schools, and then it goes into the trash. And all of the energy, water, and effort that goes into making that food and producing it is also wasted. It's bad for the environment. When you take food and you bury it at a landfill, it produces methane. Methane is worse than carbon dioxide, and that's why we have global climate. And then on top of that, a third of the families, at least, are food insecure. So we have families and children who are not getting enough food to eat while we're throwing food out. So our project was designed to try to address that in a very direct way in the public schools. Next slide, please. So these are just some slides that we took pictures of the students that are involved in our program. That's PVD Prep. That's Juan, the custodian who works with the Rangers, and we'll talk about that in a minute. During the week that we launched at PVD Prep, and there's some people from PVD Prep today who will present. Next slide, please. Oh, wait. Back, there we go. Last week we had an award ceremony. Part of the program is to help develop student leadership. And as part of that, at the end of usually the first year that we are in play, we do an award ceremony. All of the student rangers get a certificate. So you'll see Councilwoman Harris, the mayor, the superintendent Javier, Dave from the DEM presenting, that's at Fogarty last week, we really rocked the house. Someone said to me, wow, it's like a concert. So next slide, please. Nathan Bishop, part of what we do is when there are parents, or teachers or students who are interested in like, well, let's in addition to taking our food waste and making it into compost and giving it to farmers, why don't we also grow some stuff here? And so we can have this circularity thing. So we built 4 raised beds at Nathan Bishop. You see a gentleman on the left, he's here. Bob is a member of the PTO and a parent who helped me build those beds. And then there's some students here, including a student here who helps water them. And then the students are growing, and you can see the signs in English and Spanish. We're growing food there, which will then be hopefully in the fall, be part of the lunch program. Next slide, please. And this is just some of the students' names and that worked on those beds at Nathan Bishop. Next slide, please. This is the launch at PVD Prep. So you see in the center, we set up a 5-stop sorting station. The first stop is the share table. We capture the unopened milks, unpeeled oranges, bananas, yogurts. Instead of it going into the trash and then going to the landfill, we capture it. We buy a refrigerator for the school. We set that up. And then the good food gets immediately put into that refrigerator for the students that are hungry. And then they pour off the liquids, they recycle, they throw the trash, and then we compost with food waste. And at the end of each year, Bootstrap, which is the company that we work with, gives back 200 pounds of compost to the school for the use on their beds. Next slide, please. So this is in Providence, and we're in other communities as well. Smithfield, we're about to be in many communities. So, but in Providence, we're at Nathan Bishop, NLK, Barton Gordon, Leviton Dual Language, Fogarty, Debate, Nostromondo, PVD Prep, and Spaziano. We met with the principals at George West. We hope to go there in the fall, and we have money to do more schools. So if there's schools in your neighborhood that are not on the system, you would like us to do that, my contact information is on the back here, and happy to chat with anybody. I don't want my boss to hear that because he's trying to get too many schools too quickly. Next slide, please.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Angeles. I'm a facilitator with Rhode Island School Recycling Project. And I just want to highlight some of the impressive work that we've done with the students in our schools. So, as you know, our landfill is rapidly filling up. And so it's important to divert food away from the landfill. And so far we've done an astonishing amount, over 68 tons of food waste diverted from the landfill, the equivalent to a space shuttle. Just Providence. Just Providence. Next slide. And the reduction is quite significant. So the amount of trash that a school sees before and after implementing our Get Food Smart program is significant. We went from 80 tons to 12 tons after implementing our sorting stations, and that's a reduction of 85% of lunchroom waste that's going to the landfill. Next slide. So obviously, as Warren said, we're separating liquids, we're composting, recycling, making sure that students are following all these steps, but also importantly, we're keeping fresh, healthy, clean, unopened food from the trash by putting it on the share table. So that recovered food is going into the fridge for students. And we have rescued 9.5 tons, or the equivalent of almost 16,000 meals in our fridges.
Again, that into Providence only. Next slide, please.
So what we're looking at here is the annual food waste per student, and you can see that Rhode Island schools on average waste 47 pounds of food per year. And in Providence schools, that number at the beginning was 31.6, so it was a little bit lower than average, which is good. But our goal is to reduce the total food waste by 50%. That matches like EPA goals of food waste reduction. And so you can see that Providence schools are well on their way to making that target of about 20 pounds per student. Finally, the environmental impact. So we're reducing our carbon footprint by 75.2 metric tons of carbon dioxide, the equivalent of 18 cars that would be driven around the country for a year. So that's a big decrease. And also, the equivalent of 88 acres of forest of carbon sequestration. So we're removing that much carbon out of the air. Our next steps are to expand to more schools and train more student rangers, or as we call them, cafeteria warriors, and captains. So this is our next generation of student leaders and environmental warriors. And I'm gonna pass it over to Kate and Isaac to introduce those students that they've been working with.
Right?
This is really cool. I don't like say rude. I saw it going there. I think it shows. I went to.
Hello, I'm Isaac Reed.
And my name is Pete Ginger, and we are training facilitators with Rhode Island School Cycle Project.
We have had the immense pleasure of meeting with these wonderful students here for the past couple of weeks to get them ready to speak with y'all today about their experience and passion for composting in their schools and the community. So we do have a slide with their names on.
Oh.
So starting with some students from Nathan Bishop, I'm gonna call up Hector, Eliud, and Tyrone, some 7th graders.
I'm Hector. I'm Elliot. We are three middle school students at Nathan Bishop Middle School. We are the winners of the Nathan Bishop Composting Essay Contest. If we never care for our environment, all life on earth will suffer. For example, if we never care for our environment, we will not have clean water working. People life will be shorter. We will not survive for an extended period because we are not going to have access to resources critical to our survival. By sorting our trash into recycling, liquid, and composting, it will extend the life of the planet.
We need more than a handful of schools that will recycle and compost, which will help the city, which will help the landfill.
And next we have 2 more 7th graders, Hannah and Noel, and Alice, who's here to support.
Hello, my name is Mary, and my name is Noel. Both of us were in environmental science class last year in Bishop, where we learned and participated in several. We submitted an essay to the Nathan Bishop Essay Contest and have it given to some management. We have made it with this commission to cut down on our food waste and cigarette. The amount of food waste a single school can put out in a year may not seem that bad, but in reality, it is big impact to the environment, especially when it comes to schools. The experience of being in the environmental science program at Nathan Bishop has taught us the importance of maintaining the safety and health of our lives. We plan to use these tools in the future and pass them on to upcoming generations. Nathan Bishop has been using the Rhode Island School Recycling Project in bootstrap compost for 2 years now. Over time, students have learned how to compost properly. More environmental awareness has been taught to students in Nathan Bishop. Thank you for taking the time to hear us speak.
Can we see the next slide?
Yes.
Awesome. Next, we have 2 students from PDD Prep. Unfortunately, Carla was not able to join us today, but Kate is going to be speaking her speech. Saying,
My name is Julian.
My name is Ellen.
I was one of the first rangers at my school. I was placed at the compost station. Community prep helps us give out food to people, composting and helping our environment here in Providence. Vegan compost ranger makes me happy and helps me feel better about our environment. Our environment is breaking down and animals are dying in plastic bags, and trash. This is something that makes me feel stressed about. The composting station helped me feel better with all of it.
These are some words that Carla had prepared. As a generation, we are not educated enough about the world around us, and one of the problems around us happens to be composting. We focus on social media for information. How can we use this powerful tool to spread information? What does the city do to educate people about composting on their social media? What does my school do? Without the Rhode Island School Recycling Project, I would not have known about composting and its importance to the environment to reduce food waste in our town.
When we first started the Resiliency and Equity Effect, only a few students went to the bid, and as we continue, more students went to join. Kids found it fun, and we had teachers saying we would buy us snacks at the end of the school year. If our peers is doing something and enjoying it, they're more likely to join in and help the community. We need to bring composting outside of schools and into our communities. Working with youth and engage young volunteers in the community. Many kids only do things if they're offered something in return. What about healthier planet? How can we live peacefully without a healthy planet?
Y'all so much.
Thank you so much. You guys, this was an amazing presentation. I wanted to say, I am so proud of all the students for all of your amazing work and also for coming here today. I know this can probably be kind of a little bit intimidating, and we are just so proud and supportive of you guys, particularly because no, I'm kidding. No, everyone, so thank you so much. And if you're open to it, if any of the committee members have any questions or anything they want to share before the next presentation, want to open that up.
No questions, just to reiterate the gratitude for coming in here and knowing that this is your city hall, so you're more than welcome to come participate and engage with us, city councilors, with the mayor's office, all the wonderful city departments. Once again, thank you to the students and of course to the parents in the room as well for being a part and supportive of these efforts that are very critical to the future of our environment and well-being as the city. So thank you all very much.
Yeah.
I just say to the students that you're an inspiration to all of us. Who think we know a lot about recycling, we don't know enough, and so we really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about it today. So thank you.
I also want to express my gratitude. Thank you so much for what you do. I learned a lot today, really. What you're doing is amazing, it's impressive. You're rescuing and you're saving so much food out there, and you contribute to saving our environment. So we deeply appreciate it. Thank you, kids. Thank you for the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo obviously the sentiments of my colleagues. Days like this, we don't often get young people to testify in front of us, but whenever young people come before me, it always reminds me of why I decided to run for office, why I decided to try to affect change in the city of Providence. I also just want to say this because, I wasn't so young. I wasn't your age when I came before and testified. I was in college when I first testified before my government. And I gotta say, I'm just super inspired. And a lot of times, when young people testify, even folks in power can sometimes easily dismiss young people. And I gotta be honest, I know as much as it might be intimidating to come before us today, I'm intimidated by you. I learned so much from you all. And so keep up the great work. I can't say it enough. I'm very proud of you all. You're a great representation of what the city is all about. So thank you.
Before we move for another presentation, I want to share two more things. One is for my fellow counselors. I was really impressed also when I met with Warren ahead of time. They emphasized they're not looking for any money or resources. They just want to be in all the schools. So to the extent that there's a school in your neighborhood that isn't participating, like all of their contact info is on the our little handouts. So like, these are great programs. I was super impressed by how much you guys are doing, how empowering it is for the students. So if you guys have stayed in your awards and aren't participating yet, let's get them signed up beforehand. And then I also have a cautionary tale from the students that I also participated in the second program when I was in middle school. So like, heads up, like this is gonna be you in just a couple of years. So get ready to run for office. I will go for you. Awesome, and because I always forget, I also need a motion to enter this as a civic one. So, second. Moved by, Councilor Sanchez, second by Councilor Anthony, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, awesome, and then, Claire, also, I want to acknowledge that Priscilla Taylor Cruz, our Director of Sustainability, is on Zoom, she's not doing well today, so I'm participating via Zoom. If we could, make her a
Panelists.
panelist.
Sure.
Thank you for joining us, Priscilla. And Priscilla, jump in anytime once you're a panelist if you have questions or comments, or feel free to text me so I know to call me. Also, can we please, the next presenter is going to be Carla, who I see over here. Carla, could you come up and share with us about Zero Waste Providence? Thank you guys so much. It's the one that says from folks.
Oh, okay. You're welcome.
Awesome, thank you for Carla. Can you introduce yourself and jump right in? Yeah, before you jump in, can I have a motion to enter Carla's presentation as exhibit 2? Second, excellent. Moved by Councilor Sanchez, second by Councilor Anthony. All in favor? Aye. Awesome. Thank you so much, Carla.
Thank you for having me, for hosting and inviting us all here tonight. I'm very enthusiastic and proud here for good reason. My name is Carla Dowdy. I am born and raised here in Providence. I'm a graduate of Providence Public Schools. I am an active member of Zero Waste Providence, which is currently under contract with the city via funds from USDA. Shout out to Priscilla and Kevin at Sustainability for securing those funds for us, or for the city rather. So our focused goal is to connect 300 or more households to the best local composting resource available. These resources do exist. One of the young people just spoke and said, how do we get this movement going outside of schools? It is happening, and your support and you encouraging your parents and households and neighbors will help move the needle and get more people involved. All right, next slide, please. So no presentation would be complete without an opening slide that has a very boring official definition of the topic. So compost is the product resulting from the controlled decomposition of organic material. This organic material does get sanitized because a chemical process that generates heat takes place in this controlled environment where we're composting. So this is a jar of compost. I'm happy to pass it around. If you've never seen or handled or smelled compost, it's not scary. That used to be sun butter and jelly sandwiches. That used to be pizza. That used to be chicken wings. That used to be anything you could eat. Jelly beans, you name it. If it grows, it goes in compost. May I have the next slide, please? So zero waste is a concept of waste minimization through principles that encourage the redesign of resource life cycles, so that materials are reused rather than sent to landfills, incinerators, or polluting our oceans. The longer we can keep our valuable local resources in the loop, the more resilient our community will be. Remember a few months ago, a shipping container blocked the Suez Canal, and there was a big disruption in the flow of goods across the world. Remember the health pandemic that is still ongoing, but really affected us in 2020, 2021. having local resilience is why this committee is here, and composting is a really critical way to build local resilience. Composting helps close this loop in our local food system. Food scraps are a resource, they are not trash. So as individuals, we need to change our mindsets and make small habit changes in the household. As elected officials, investors, and decision makers, we need to integrate small and medium scale decentralized community composting into normal practice within city limits. Let's not send resources away to trash, but instead, let's trust our community composters who are available to help close this local food loop. Scraps are sorted, collected, composted locally, and then applied to farmland to grow more fresh local food, keeping the resources and the money in the loop. I have the next slide, please. Rhode Island has one central landfill, the Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation in Johnston. It is very well managed, but it does have a limited lifespan. It is scheduled to be full and close in about 10 to 15 years. About half of what we throw away, so on the right-hand side of that trash bag, you see half of that bag is compostable. Between the yard waste, the paper, cardboard, and the food scraps. We're seeing half of all bags of trash that we sent to landfill could actually be recycled infinitely through the process of composting. Food scraps are infinitely recyclable. Diverting this material away from the trash can and towards the compost bin prevents the physical bulk at the landfill. So we're increasing the lifespan of our precious landfill by doing this. I must correct the number that says 21% is food scraps alone. That's a national average, 21%. In Rhode Island, the percentage of food scraps we're sending to landfill is higher, 33%. Of what we're sending to landfill is food scraps alone. That assessment was done at the landfill in 2019, so that's a recent stat. In landfill conditions, food scraps create methane. It's a powerful polluting gas, contributing greatly to unstable climate change. Composting is the best way to prevent this release of methane. And further, applying finished carbon compost to the landscape and farmland sequesters carbon back into the earth. So we're mining for fossil fuels, we're releasing carbon into the atmosphere. When we make compost and put it into the earth, we're sequestering that carbon back into the earth. So it's not free. And the next slide, please. All right, what other benefits does community composting provide? Besides space saving and buying us some more time for our landfill, there are tangible and measurable benefits to our land. The physical quality of our soil becomes more porous, able to retain more water. So if we have instances of really heavy, all of a sudden rains, which we're all super familiar with, the ground has an increased capacity to hold on to the water instead of it running right off and into the valleys where we're seeing people fishing outside of McDonald's because the water has nowhere to go. There are social benefits like quality job creation and community building. Normal landfills and incinerators make some jobs, but community composting creates 6 times as many jobs. And they're good green jobs with happy people. We're all pretty happy to be here to tell you how much we love our jobs. There are also compost applied back into your farmland increases the soil fertility, increases the amount of life happening in that soil, and makes it so that nutrients are more available to be taken up into the roots of plants, meaning your vegetables that you're growing in compost are healthier for you than those grown in conventional soil. All right, I've gone off notes. Let's find where I am now. So there's a lot here about resiliency and environment, but there's also a huge intersection of where we come into social justice, economic justice, racial justice, in the environmental justice campaign. The intersectionality of all this is vital. And on a personal and professional level, it's in my interest to make sure that we're setting up infrastructure that doesn't extract resources. So I'm talking about food scraps. We don't want to extract these from communities and make profit for someone else. I want the value of this product to stay in the communities where it was created. Compost is a commodity, has value. I'm sure the city purchases compost every year. We could be making our own.
Data is in from Oakland. The return on the investment beats conventional waste disposal methods at 1/3 the cost. So it's 2/3 cheaper to be composting in small scale decentralized networks than it is to send things to landfill. Also, federal incentives exist to fund projects like this to reduce methane. That's a lot of numbers, I'm not going to read. And the next slide, please. So what do we think we know about composting? Most often people think, oh, it stinks. It's going to attract rats. I don't want it in my backyard. Sure, it's a good idea in theory, but in practice, no, we don't want to do it either. It's yucky. And I've got to say, no, that's not the case. These are myths, and I'm here to myth bust. Stuart is going to get up and speak later. If you have a chance to go to Stuart's home, please see how elegantly composting can be done. How efficiently this man is composting meat and bones and grease of his backyard, you will not be able to tell because he has been trained, educated, and has a strong network of support. He's going to talk a lot more about that. Services do exist to take your food scraps for you if you don't want to do the work of composting in your backyard. And also there are drop-off areas where you can bring your materials. In the bottom left, that's from 2 weeks ago. Myself and Victor, who's behind me, we went and turned some piles on Ring Street. The Ring Street Garden in between Atwells Ave and Broadway is a great place to visit if you would like to see small-scale decentralized composting in action. On the left, we're making a big pile of food scraps with mulch and leaves. On the right, we've cleaned up after ourselves. Nothing left behind. No rats in sight. The neighbors love it. There's an idea that maybe one big company should do all of this work. One big company should have a big facility, you know, out of the city, and we can have their trucks on the road, picking up from everyone's house and trucking it out. That's resource extraction I'm trying to avoid. While when we get up to those big numbers and trying to get all hundreds of thousands of people composting, we will need larger facilities to process. But it's vital to build in the small scale decentralized network at the get-go before the big guys come in and take over the whole thing. So this does exist, this infrastructure does exist, and it's continuing to grow. On the right-hand side, there's an upside-down pyramid. That is called the hierarchy of food waste reduction. And at the top, we see source reduction. So that's producing less, buying less. If you buy a bag of spinach and you never eat it, it's rotting in the fridge every single week. Stop buying a bag of spinach. You're not going to eat it. Stop doing it. Also, edible food residue is up there, and that's what Jim and Warren are really doing with the schools, making edible food, keeping it edible by not throwing it in the trash can, not mixing it up with the yucky stuff. And way down at the bottom, we see landfill and incinerator. That's our least desirable method. In between that, the small scale and medium scale and large scale composting happens. Maybe the next slide, please. So how can you compost in Providence? The left picture is my house. I've got my own little worm compost bin. I put my veggie scraps in there. I recycle. I've got a landfill basket, and then I also send some material out via a pickup service that comes to my house. The key is really the minor habit change in the households. We're not making new trash. We're just putting the same existing material that we're making in a different container, not the trash can. On the right, you can see that's a bootstrap bucket. That one has mac and cheese. We've got a paper towel in there, some eggshells, banana peels. That all transforms into really valuable commodity compost. At the very bottom are many different methods of composting, and I'm a nerd, and I would love to talk to you all about that another time. May I have the next slide, please? So if you're gonna backyard compost, a lot of people have an idea to just throw things in a pile and ignore it. That's what's gonna give you some smells and maybe some unwanted visitors, so for the rodent variety. Highly recommend learning, reading, finding a mentor. Some manual labor is required, some space is needed, and you might get dirty. It's not for everyone to have a backyard pile, but it really is a viable method for a lot of homeowners and renters whose landlords allow it. Stuart Martin has funding through the USDA through this grant to offer extremely thorough compost mentorships. Highly recommend taking advantage of this. Stuart's gonna talk about that later, but he will give you essentially an $800 value compost setup in your yard for free through this grant. May I have the next slide, please? Currently, there are 13 drop-off sites within the city, or actually Edgewood Community Garden is just outside of city limits, pardon me, but it does serve residents of Providence down near Patuxent. 11 of these sites are managed by Harvest Cycle, which is a nonprofit through Groundwork, Rhode Island. The 2 independent sites are Urban Greens Co-op Market on Cranston Street and the Community Compost Depot at Prairie Gardens on Radcliffe Street. These are locations where you bring your food scraps and dump them out at the kiosk. You pay $10 a month and you can dump unlimited amounts of scraps there. There are some easy rules to follow. They're all very tidy and they lock, so nobody's just throwing trash there. These are free for households that receive SNAP. I have the QR code to bring you right to that sign up if you want to hang out after and just sign up for it. The drop-offs are great because they keep cars and trucks off the road. I know the city isn't really interested in paying to have unionized drivers drive up and down and have a fleet of vehicles on the street when we already have a cycling track. A lot of this is processed locally as well, like I was talking about, keeping the value of the resource in the neighborhood, better closing that loop. And I went to a national compost conference a few months ago, and one of the slides that was shown was 5 cities modeling great strategies for decentralized small-scale composting. Providence was one of those 5 cities. I was surprised. I didn't expect to see that, but we're up there. And the more we grow this network, the more we'll be leaders in the country for this type of infrastructure. This type of infrastructure is absolutely necessary as we approach the tipping point of our landfills filling up. Let's see. Next slide, please. Dramatic slides. Their drop-off sites look like that. That's Washington Park Library, there's Wampscott Library. There's another example of what can go in there. I've got a dead house plant, I've got pet fur, fingernail clippings, a 100% cotton ear swab, the tube from a toilet paper roll. All of that can turn into this and be a valuable commodity. It's not trash. We have the next slide, please. There are pickup services that exist. Oh, sorry, my formatting is a little off there. There's Harvest Cycle and Bootstrap Compost are the 2 big players. There are a few other smaller haulers, but Harvest Cycle and Bootstrap are the 2 major haulers who will pick up from your household. They provide you a 5-gallon bucket that seals. You put all of your food scraps in there and you set it outside on your pickup day. I leave mine at my coach all the time. I've not had any issues with rodents or bunnies or curious neighbors. Harvest Cycle is bicycle powered. You might see them rolling around town, hauling the scraps back to Ring Street or 7th Street. They are based in Providence. That's who I use personally. Bootstrap Compost, I worked for them for several years. Really excellent white glove service, a 5-star rating. They're a for-profit with 13 years of experience. They are based in Boston, but they do process some of the material here. The reason you would want to pick up service is the convenience. If you don't want to get dirty, you don't want to think about the chore, you have in your budget to pay for it, $16 a month, easy. Let someone else do it for you. Ideally, in the next few years, we'll see pilots popping up and more of these services become cheaper or more accessible for more households. We'll have the next slide. There are also other commercial, office, school, and event services that weren't previously on the PowerPoint. Epic Renewal does Bokashi style, which is a little different. Bootstrap does an excellent office service. City Hall should get in on that. Remix Organics, formerly the compost plant, hauls from most restaurants in town. And we already met Rhode Island Schools Recycling Project. There's also 15-minute field trips and Magic Tree Vermicast to do educational program. Can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. The sources and from all the data are from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance and the U.S. Composting Council. Our city's sustainability page about compost is really informative, has a thorough list of resources. And also the ILSR has a lot of great written and visual resources in Spanish. That's all. Thank you so much.
Can you give us a question for Carla? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Carl, thank you for coming today. I think this is obviously very fascinating. I want to ask if you have a data point in terms of how many residents are participating in composting, and if you have a breakdown of like each ward or neighborhood in Providence.
Oh, interesting. I don't have final data on that, but I am aggregating data over the next 16 months to reflect that. So I'll be able to present to you and to the city hard data after this 18-month funded program happens. We have a survey going around, and from that survey, we're extrapolating data, including ward location and how people are composting, if they have a backyard pile or if they're using a service. I'm in touch with all of the haulers locally, and I check with them every few months about how many households are participating, and it is increasing. We're seeing a good response from this campaign so far. Let's see, Bootstrap has about 340, 350 residential customers in Providence alone. Harvest Cycle has about 360 pickup and then another 350 drop off, so about 700. So we're looking around 1,000, 1,200 people are using a service. That does not include commercial, so like a lot of private businesses, restaurants are using commercial hauling. So those are not factored in. I'm strictly focused on residential at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, for this information, super informative. Just a quick question on your last comment about, focusing on residential, versus commercial. Is there, I guess I would like your why on that, and then is there anyone focusing on commercial?
Great question. Yes, I know, private businesses, like Sam here from Bootstrap, it's his prerogative to sign on commercial accounts. But also CET, the Center for Ecotechnology, is a part of this USDA grant, and they're focused on some work with the school department and also work with restaurants. I don't think they're doing as aggressive outreach, but it's my understanding that when I encounter a business, I funnel them to CET so that they can provide free, what's the word I'm looking for? Consultation, technical assistance, thank you, for the best methods for them to compost.
And you already mentioned the remix, which could be the compost plan, I think they're nice big trucks or whatever they do. And I think they do that. Or they say,
What was the last thing said?
I think they used to do, at least they used to do the universities too. They were,
They do the big stuff.
yeah, they do the big.
They do the hospitals, the university.
Yeah.
In your time in doing this work, obviously it's important to encourage people, but I think to a certain point, we're gonna reach the critical moment where it's should be a requirement. So I guess like my question is, like, when we went to this national conference, is this something that's being mandatory in any cities or towns that you're aware of? And how can, I guess, we start taking the proper first steps in getting there?
I lived in California for 8 years, and they had municipal curbside compost service, and it was single stream, so you could put your yard waste and your food waste in one bin. The city provided a very small trash can and a large recycling bin and a large green waste bin. You had to pay for your trash service, but the recycling and the green waste bin were free. Those were subsidized by the municipality. So that was, a start there. They're not, the municipal haulers took things to an anaerobic digester. So in the grand scheme of the hierarchy of best case and kind of least desirable methods, the anaerobic digesters come towards the mid bottom, but still plays a vital role in processing and how we process all of this material. Which is why I must say small scale processing sites like on Ring Street, if you get a chance to go and see how it works, that's kind of what puts a switch in people's mind. and convinces them that, oh, it's not gross, oh, it's easy, oh, these people are having fun doing it, oh, it makes this really gorgeous product that's gonna like make my garden pop off. So I think several people here can attest to the transformative and satisfying power of composting. You see it happen when you do it yourself, you feel empowered and in control of our control roles.
Charlotte, do you have any recommendations for things you'd like us to do besides the composting activity hall, which I hear Sam already said too?
Yeah, we should definitely do a field trip to the processing sites that exist locally, small scale, medium scale, and large scale, so you can see the differences. I think a lot of times municipalities, when they're considering waste management for the future, some of the different methods get grouped together when really they're quite different. So I would like you all to have really distinct understanding of what we're talking about when we say small scale decentralized, medium scale decentralized, and then large scale like anaerobic digester or large scale, many acres on a farm such as Earth Care Farm in Charleston. That's a good example of really large scale processing. So yeah, field trips would be great, and I'd love to help coordinate that. Awesome.
Can I just ask about like I don't know if this is kind of what you're referring to, but the idea of like big business being involved in this, which is I think not what you're hoping that the landscape turns into. But do you know of any cities that, like for example, waste management, which occasionally I have beef with on.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one reason why they're not perfect is because they're a gigantic company. And I would probably say multinational in some cases. But not just waste management, but taken for example, or a corporation that resembles their size. Do you know of any that kind of as part of their services in cities to residents? Do they take part in composting?
I know, I can say.
Oh, it said waste management,
They do that?
where they are required.
So it has to be like a contract.
And if you could say your name for the.
Sorry, I'm Isaac, I'm with the Rhode Island Food Policy Guy.
Isaac Bird.
Isaac Berg, yes.
What was the last name?
Bird.
Bird.
BEAR.
Interesting.
The waste hauling business makes money on the tonnage, so when you dump out at a location, they charge per tonnage. So it's in waste management's interest to have a large amount of material to schlep around from A to B. So we might, in a few years, if we start making a dent in their profits, we might see some pushback from traditional conventional waste haulers against composting, but I'd like to think that they'll adapt to the times and improve their capacity to produce compost as well. Like I said, I'm really interested in setting up small scale decentralized so that the value of the product stays where it was created. But I also recognize that if we want every person composting, we are going to have to work with larger management companies to move this stuff around.
Any other questions for Carmen?
I can stay here on
I just have a comment, thank you so much for such an in-depth presentation. But looking through this, I'm like, there's not a lot out there that is not recyclable. Yeah, so if you follow this, a typical home is not going to produce a lot of trash.
Oh, yes,
Because-
exactly right. So
Yeah.
we're putting the 1/3 of our trash can, that's the heavy, wet food stuff in the compost. You're hardly gonna have to empty your trash can. It's gonna be the light, fluffy
Exactly.
stuff, and most of that is recyclable. And we can't recycle, if you buy a case of water bottles, you can recycle the water bottles. We can't recycle the film that
The
keeps
plastic.
them all together. Municipally, we can bring that to the Walmart, they have a kiosk at the entrance of Walmart, you can put that plastic there. Single stream recycling has a lot of issues, that's a whole other meeting and a whole other topic, but you're right, most of, 50% of our trash can is compostable, and if we divert 30% at least, that's food waste. we're seeing massive reductions in the amount of waste.
Oh, absolutely.
Massive, I mean, schools are reporting 85% reduction, right? 85% reduction in Providence schools when they incorporated the system.
And we might not.
Yes. Also, as a note to that, paying by the ton, Rhode Island pays some of the lowest rates for throwing away our garbage at the landfill. Lowest rates in the region, maybe the lowest rates in the country, I heard. I can't speak to that. Region, Alabama's lower. So when our landfill fills, we will have to pay to ship it farther away and pay the state to take it. So say Ohio wants to buy our trash, or Arkansas or Alabama wants to buy our trash. We have to not only use diesel fuel to ship it there, pollution, we have to pay them for it, and they're gonna charge 3 times as much as what we're paying now. So we're gonna see taxes go up. So once again, building this small scale infrastructure to deal with that 50%, 33% that we can compost locally will save us so much money. The data that came in from the city of Oakland over their pilot in the last few years is compelling data. I could follow up with a link to a podcast that would summarize it. Really compelling data. I'm excited about that.
Awesome, we have one more presenter. More Neil Burton, who is the most active person I've ever met, and he's a very positive person, what she does it, is going to talk to us. We heard a little preview about him from Carla, it's going to share some information about as well.
Thank you all for having me here, and thank you all for doing what you're doing. Even Mark from the Starting Works. I'm here to talk about backyard composting, which I think is, given everything we've listened to tonight, it looks like a decent one. Especially since most food waste comes from homeowners. Not restaurants, not hospitals, homeowners. I'm just going to start by reading a quote from, I also have some data. This is the most amazing book that anybody could read. About compost.
But you can't see the available.
Compost, I'm glad that the other two presenters went into such excellent detail. I couldn't really, I have that on my slideshow, but I didn't feel like I could fit my slideshow into 20 minutes. I would love to have the opportunity to come back and present the whole slideshow. I also invite everybody to please visit my site, see what we've done.
Yeah, if you haven't been to Stuart's house, if you haven't been to his house, it's amazing, he's composting facility. I think June's visited,
Thank you.
or June said, June visited yours.
I think it's you and Kevin.
Well, Kevin and I went in it, but I think June came too, future meeting, or June sat.
Yeah.
June. That's right.
So you're more than welcome, please. And what it does is it visiting us, it demystifies the backyard composting process. And I think that's extremely important, given so many myths that you've heard and read. I'm going to read this book. Compost conserves energy because it's supplying the nutrients without calling on fossil fuel support. It saves energy because it can be made on the farm and in the garden, requiring no transportation from factory. It saves energy because it is waste recycled via a very short route, as short as the distance from the kitchen to the backyard compost heap. This is key. Even the organic debris of the entire city can be recycled and returned to the land without leaving the metropolitan area. I've been in conversations with Mayor Smiley. We had a meeting about 2 months ago. Sheila was there. Sheila. They mentioned Wendy Nielsen. They were talking about having a test site at Roger Williams Park. I've been in contact with Jane Murner from Earth Care Farms, an amazing person, an amazing facility. They've been 25 years ahead of their time for a very long time. She said, all we need are 2 acres. Compost all of our food scraps. The whole city of Providence at Roger Williams Park. I'm going to amend that to add another 2 because there's a brown wood processing component that's extremely important. The major input for aerobic composting is brown. carbon, wood chips, leaves, sawdust, and untreated wood. We have a never-ending supply of wood chips through the Salem Street Wood Chip Depot that the Forestry Service runs. I'm sure they'd be willing to divert some of their processed wood chips to Roger Williams Park. We also have a partner with through Brown University. Every fall, Brown University, and I know the head of maintenance is a lovely guy. They collect all the leaves from Brown University and they shred it, which expedites the composting process. Bacteria has much more surface area than its thing. So we have great potential to do this in our own, just as this quote said. Now, we don't need waste management. We don't need to pay these exorbitant fees to these haulers. We can do it ourselves, and it's not that hard. That's what I'm talking about. I wish I was able to have my presentation, but let's go over just a few quick things. The grants, an amazing grant that the illustrious Kevin called. It's called the Backyard Composting and Mentorship Program. It was a 2-year grant. It's extended to September of 2025. The charge was enrolling 40 Providence households, 50% of which should come from economically disadvantaged areas. I started enrolling April 16th. We're almost filled. I was at the Mount Pleasant Library last night. I made a presentation of 32 people, 10 signed up. Told you about the enrollments. Yeah, we've been composting, and we live on each side in there, so we've been composting for 22 years. And we use this has been not this exact, but another so I clean. And we've diverted, I've calculated conservatively, over a 20-year period of time, we've diverted one household 15 tons from scratch from the landfill. You know, multiply that by 100, 200, 300. Again, this is not that hard to do. I made the decision early on it never makes sense to me to just compost fruits and vegetables to the exclusion of everything else. So I set out to do that, and we did. One of the myths that people have, if you want to hold on to desperately, is, oh, we just compost fruits and vegetables, because if we add anything else, it will attract rats and animals. That is false. You don't compost fruits and vegetables correctly, that attracts animals also. What we've done is animal-proof composting. We've composted for it, and I have 52 clients, which is not a lot, given I think the need, and we've had no incursions. I use hardware cloth that I rivet over the vents. I use hardware cloth underneath. So it's, again, please come, it's not that hard. I told you about Roger Williams Park. I want to leave enough time for questions. To waivers. Oh, I think where you all come in a very big way is supporting, pushing the city to get this compost test site. And I actually named it. I've named it I haven't acronym. Composting composting this Providence Municipal Compost Depot. I've also asked the sustainability department to think about forming a subsection of what they're doing. Providence Office of Backyard Compost. I have offered my expertise to staff it. They're not going to pay me. I don't care. I will teach them everything I know. And hopefully this grant can go from 40 to 400. 4,000. How many residents do we have in Providence? I don't know. We have a lot, right? We have a lot of gardeners. We have a lot of people who are interested in the environment. You've heard and read It's pretty much a no-brainer. Backyard composting is, let me say it again, not hard to do. Any questions? Please.
So any questions for Stuart? And you guys all received a letter from Stuart in your box, in your mailbox, in March.
Yes, you all did. You all received the letter.
Just in case you're like, huh,
Just for your information.
In case we didn't receive the letter, which is a distinct possibility. How do we get in touch with you and how do we come to your house to see your wonderful compost?
Oh, I'll give you my phone number, my email, my address. Stuart Martin@mac.com. Phone number is 401-480, my apologies again for not having it up on the screen for you guys. Okay. 401-480-4431. What else can I tell you? We're offering.
Thank you, that's very helpful. I'll go that. Thank you.
Yeah, so no, I think it's impossible to overstate the importance of the influence this committee can have on this essential important process. I'm working off the Berkeley model, Berkeley, California. They have food scrap collection. They process it on site somewhere in Berkeley. And one Saturday a month, I believe, so they make it available to citizens. Citizens come by with their buckets and they load up their buckets. They may have a drop-off service too for the people who want to order finished compost. It's just not hard to do. We have to have the political will to do it. We are also the only city in the country that's offering this backyard composting mentorship program. That is noteworthy. And that is like, we all should collectively pat ourselves on the back, but the thanks really goes to Kevin Frost. Sustainability Department. He's done the heavy lifting. He's a prince.
And Priscilla, whose boss is listening.
Priscilla also. Yes.
So she'll know.
Yes, yeah, Priscilla. Sorry, Priscilla.
No, I'm
Yes.
saying that his boss, you're saying
She's,
she's.
yeah, she's Kevin's boss. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. So,
I was just wondering, so you mentioned the site of Rocky Williams, where is that and how can we help with
oh,
that?
you mean at Roger Williams Park?
Yeah.
So
what is the
it's still,
state of that?
it's still forming. They just mentioned this in passing. I think the biggest problem is decisions about this municipal compost depot being made by fiat or being made without more input from citizens who know a lot of that compost. Garrett here has been involved in composting for forever, right? You know, a lot of people, Carla, there's so many people, the remix people are, I spent the week at the main composting school 4 or 5 years ago, and it literally knocked the top of my head right off. They have recipes for composting dead cows. What do you do with my cow guys? Composting. They were hired by the Iowa Department of Health to consult when the bird flu. What do you do with all the dead chickens? Composting. Again, it's not hard. We can do this. But we need the political will to, how can I say, make some noise, push some buttons. I think it feels like the city of Providence is at an inflection point in this realm, in this space. It's not hard to do.
I would just say you planted, I think, a few seeds here at this committee today, and you know, there's something about legacies and leaving a legacy behind, and I think this committee could really I think really push forward. I mean, in my position, I never try to overpromise anything.
I think that's wise.
But
That's very wise.
But I think that's I think we should pursue this.
I think the point is, well, you won't have an opportunity to really put your put your stamp on this necessary effort. We talked about seeds.
I guess no pun intended on that.
I don't
Oh, I thought that was intended.
Oh, it's-
Okay. So in our front garden, I do wish I had slides. to- These are grown in my garden. These are giant sunflowers. This is a 9-foot plant. I brought these to give away. You put them in the ground tomorrow. In 3 months, you'll have 9. If you have full sun. And you water. You'll have 9-foot sunflowers. And you can harvest the seeds. So at the end of the,
I think that's under the getting thresholds.
it's free, it's free. At threshold, I believe it's $25. Free. Any questions?
Any other
Please?
questions, Stuart?
Please come visit me.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Stuart.
Thank
And
you.
you get to the amazing today. Awesome, so I think the last thing on our agenda is public comment, so if anyone can present today, to look at the people, if anyone wanted to have public comment, if you could, we have another exhibit, sorry, my bad, we have public comment. Stuart provided us with this article.
Oh, it's kind of important. actually.
Oh, yeah, well, first,
So-
we have to enter in the record and talk about it.
So.
Second, excellent, this is good reason now. Okay, Stuart.
So my wife works at Brown. She's aware of a lot of these efforts. So Providence, among many New England cities, scored an F on the air quality index. This is Professor Hastings. She's involved in monitoring air quality in a very technically superior way. They'll have that next year. But so it's not just composting that we're saying. It's not just composting and composting.
To let you know, Meredith presented this committee last August, and you did a resolution
Great.
reporting for work, and you're gonna forget some.
Great. The other part of the equation that I did want to talk about, and thank you for giving me.
Also, board three residents. And facing, anyway, continue.
So I'm here also to talk about getting more support from the forestry department. The forestry department is an important part of resilience, sustainability. At present, the forestry department is a skeleton crew. They cannot keep up with the demand of planting trees. This is really important for you. Sorry. Thank you, Sue.
No, of course, sir. Yeah.
So. I'm a Providence street cleaner. I'm tree pruning. I go around the neighborhood and I prune trees. We collect structural pruning. We collect tree prunings and the city picks them up. They don't have the staffing to do that. Trees are dying at a very rapid rate. New trees are being put in, but there's not enough aftercare. Trees require watering, structural pruning, fighting against soil compaction. They have to be weeded, nutrifying the soil. This is not being done. We have one city forester, Sam Dagenhart, who's fantastic. AJ Elton before him, fantastic. Doug Still, who I know personally, fantastic. They just don't have the resources. City decides to have at least 2 city foresters. We go through the neighborhood of Mount Hope, and we prune hundreds of trees. We've talked with hundreds over the years of neighbors, and we said, "Oh, thank you so much for doing it." We can call forestry; they never get back to us. We call them multiple times. We email them. It's not because they don't want to get back; they don't have the standing. And I think it's just it's a fool's errand to talk about or write anything about sustainability or resilience or go through a TDD tree plan for 2024, which is 100% aspiration. We're not going to accomplish any of it. We don't have the infrastructure. So I don't know if this is a local issue. I don't know if our senators have to get involved for more funding, the governor, our Congress people, but it's real. Like it's a very big problem. It's not insurmountable. It just goes back to political will. A lot of people know how to take care of trees. A lot.
Yeah, thank you for your answers.
Oh, one last point. There are 224 trained Providence tree keepers.
I'm the only one who's putting trees in the city of Providence. There's no one available to coordinate. That's a travesty. Yeah, ask Sam, ask, he'll confirm.
How do you find these three keepers?
Well, we were all trained
By who
by the Providence Neighborhood Recruiting Partnership, which is a grant from the Shark Foundation.
Oh, is this the PNPP, the process safety planning project?
Right, so they're involved in planting trees, but they're not involved in, it's funding for planting trees, but all the aftercare is not their charge. That's our charge, we're failing.
Okay, I am gonna now open it up to public comment. Thank you so much. for your-
Welcome, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Stu.
Thank you so much.
Is there anybody from the public who wanted to make a public comment? Greg, can you introduce yourself?
That's the only one.
Good evening, I'm Greg Garrett, I live on Sixth Street. I'm partly responsible for all of this mess. We started, a partnership between myself and Southside Community Land Trust. Started this thing called the composting initiative in 2009. And so it's been 15 years, and, we've made great progress, and we've made hardly any progress. You know, I mean, there's things that we know now that we didn't know then, there's things we can do now that we didn't know back then. But, we could have done a lot of this quicker if we had a way to push the public agenda. And, you know, some of that's on me, some of that's on the work on the state of the world. Compost is going to be one of the most important things you do over the next 10 years in this city. I mean, we're all looking at the comp plan now, you know, and I've been going to lots of meetings on that. And, we have to figure out how to separate having an economy from making trash. And we haven't done that. We haven't figured out how to dematerialize a lot of our culture. And we're gonna need to do a lot of that. And it's gonna be not easy because there are very powerful forces arrayed to keep us doing the wrong thing, because it's profitable under the current system to do the wrong thing. And you know, we just have to work harder at it. This year, as an example, we basically, few of us from the Food Policy Council, Zero Waste Providence, we went to the state legislature with a proposal to add $2 a ton to the cost of tipping at the landfill, with all of that money coming back to the municipalities so that they can implement composting recycling initiatives. You know, that would be about $1 million a year coming back to all of the different towns, you know, and so the towns would get $1 million. But what it also would be is that they would save money on tipping, because they're taking out this heavy part of their waste stream, don't have to pay for it, paying $2 and you know, extra per, but then getting money to help them further reduce their amount of trash going. So it's a win for the community. We may be able to get that through in a few years. You know, it takes forever to get things through up at the legislature. The city council is a little quicker sometimes. But this is the kind of stuff that we can be doing as a state and as a city. We could do more. Every community garden should have a really good compost system. You know, these kind of compost people, if you have them on every block, I mean, you'd be saving a lot of money. You'd be saving money for tip fees, you'd be saving money on gas for the waste management. You know, we could do all that, plus all of that would go right back into the local gardens, including food security.
Because food security is among the biggest issues, that housing security, I mean, we, for years, people talk about, can you do housing and land conservation? Can you do housing and food security? Of course you can. Every building that's built for more than, we have a rule in this town, it's a multifamily, beyond 3 family, 6 families, you gotta pay your own rent. Every one of those big multifamilies should have garden space. Instead of parking lots, have a garden, grow the food, save the people money at the grocery store. And we have to start thinking much more holistically about our economy. I've been talking a lot about the idea of a climate justice economy, not climate justice, not the economy. You have the core of our economic development policy in this city ought to be climate justice. How do we reduce our fossil fuel use by clean energy, saving us money? How do you, manage your food security? Instead of thinking about climate and energy as the add-on to your economy, it's the center of your economy. It's the center in terms of, if you don't have that, you can't do anything else, but also it's your innovation center for the future. I mean, we talk about all kinds of innovation centers. Most of those innovation centers do things that make your life more expensive or more dangerous. I mean, we're talking about medical as an innovation center for the Rhode Island economy. The only problem is nobody can afford health care now. You do it as an innovation center, it's going to cost more. You have to have more money going in so that medical is profitable. So you have to start rethinking those things and thinking about how life is run. I got my start as a composter about 45 years ago. I started working on farms up in Maine, and then I started cleaning sheep barns. And I had one of the best gardens around because I used to take my pay to clean sheep barns and sheep manure. And, I had the weirdest compost system in the world. And when they talk about, I had a big pile of sheep manure, and I could stand on my front yard and my front steps and throw my food scraps at it. And most of them got in the pile, but if they didn't, I was so far out in the woods, nobody noticed because it just got covered with leaves and compost. So my forest was up. So we can do all kinds of things on this level, and you start to integrate your composting, your stormwater, your energy, all those things both improve life right in the neighborhood, green spaces and heat islands, and then they also are your economy. All the money you save means that money is not getting shipped out of Rhode Island. So it's great that the city council is paying attention to this. I hope we pay more attention to this. I think we need to, if the cities and the municipalities start to do a lot of this, then it will make it easier for the state to do the right thing. So Isaac over here has got a project going on with the Food Policy Council to get the municipalities compost. Providence is probably the only city in the state that's really moving along. But we're gonna get the rest of them. And the grassroots thing, neighborhood, individual, I've been composting about my house for 40 years. I've been doing it for 25 years here in Providence. And I don't have any rats, I don't have any mice. I use a modified trash can, so it doesn't leak, and my neighbors have never complained for smell. We can do all of this stuff. Not hard to do. It's not hard to do. We're all lazy composting from some level. You tend to let it sit an extra day before you turn it. Doesn't matter. And I always know that I'm good because all of a sudden the inside of my compost, the bin, the lid is full of moisture. Because then all of a sudden it got hot and cleared out everything. Clears out the bugs, clears out everything that you don't want in there. So, doing it right works. And I hope the city council pays more attention to this. I hope the mayor pays more attention to this. I know the sustainability department's paying more attention to this, because I remind them. So, but you know, this is something that is gonna be good for the city and keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
I'd like to say,
Yeah, please say it to me.
my name is Richard Perez. I couldn't get to come here today and speak, man, about composting, like, me, I'm gonna say something out of, from a different element. I just came out of prison actually a couple months ago. And, compost actually saved me in my lifetime of in prison. I was in prison and, they brought the out-of-time program to me in like 2011. And I really didn't have no hope of getting out of jail. I was really a negative person. I got caught up in a lot of conflict in there. And compost saved my life because it helped me release stress. It helped me see myself as someone, like, it helped me with my resilience. It helped me with therapy. It helped me with a lot of things that I couldn't be able to like let out. I couldn't really be able to like express anything. There really wasn't no help for me in there because I was doing so much time that they really didn't have time to get to me. As far as like when it came to like rehabilitation services and stuff of that nature. But composting, Kate looked towards, she went in there with the program, and they were voted, and they actually helped me help others as well. You know, help people in recovery. I do recovery support assistance. I mentor kids in there, not kids, but like young adults. And that was all because I was able to like stay out of setting. I was able to stay stress free. I was able to use compost as therapy. Like I used to be in a compost file, breaking up compost, barefooted, with my hands all in there. And you know, they would show me love and they would help me see my value, they would help me see my work, that I was more than just someone that was like just built for imprisonment. And you know, imprisonment is basically a place where you get punished, you get I want to say shunned from society. You know, I really wasn't able to grow. I don't really know nothing about technology. I still start learning some of this stuff. And I've been so backed up in time because I was so constricted, so just boxed inside of prison. And I was able to like release that and compost when they run that program in there. And I learned other things. I learned how to grow stuff. I learned how to eat natural stuff. I learned other things as well. And they went there and they actually showed me that I was worth. My value was more than just imprisonment. And the point that I'm trying to make is that they helped me. They showed me love. And it wasn't just about a program. It wasn't just about we here to serve you with a program. We actually here to support you. And when I got out of prison, they actually helped me. I just completed the program. I just graduated last week, and I was able to earn like 9 different certificates. And I'm not really, I thank every single one of you. I'm basically here because y'all gave me an opportunity to be a part of the Outreach Compost program. And I'm just here to share my experiences from a different element. But compost did save me from a lifetime of imprisonment, and it helped me help others. I'm still a service. I'm in the English house, and I'm over there helping people get in recovery. I'm hoping, you know, actually through their, you know, love, helping me evolve and stuff of that nature. I'm able to also, now I'm gonna be working with kids as well, like, you know, they're gonna help me water the trees and stuff like that, because I got all these certificates that I earned over there from completing the program, and they actually got a time, gave me a second chance to do the Green Entry program. And I just graduated that program, and basically what I'm saying is that compost didn't only help me from a lifetime of imprisonment, it helped me help others as well. And it helped me see through mindful resilience that trash, that dirt is not just trash. So I felt like dirt, but at the end of the day, I was able to like reproduce myself and see that not only through the compost, but reproduce yourself as life and all of that dirt, there was also life and potential inside of me. And that's what compost did for me.
Oh, there's super. Where you found that?
No, not.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a very quick comment. I'm Isaac Bird with Rhode Island Food Policy Council. A lot of my job is working with municipalities to help them figure out what the best path is for composting. I'm gonna be speaking with Kevin and Maureen McManus in a couple weeks. And so I would just say, support them. You've seen all the amazing things we can do with composting. Continue to support your, sustainability department in really moving that forward. Greg mentioned the bill that we're trying to promote statewide. maybe consider, some sort of resolution, as other towns are starting to do in support of that. But there's a lot of great things we can do, and I really appreciate you, taking the time to hear it tonight.
The bill is SB 2753.
Yeah, I can follow, I can follow up with you all here.
Right, you have a comment or we just supporting this?
The committee on the environment.
Talking about compost.
That,
The public comments.
I understand, we have all these compost experts, I'm not a compost expert. Recycling expert, transportation expert. I just want to say one thing that I said a couple of days ago. It's but I really don't want to reiterate it's immediate, it's now. If you don't take action this year, next year, everything else we can do, do it better. But what I mentioned before was that we have this amazing moment that we're talking about spending $250 million in our bridge to gain one extra travel. And all I'm saying is that we had an excellent resolution a couple weeks ago saying you don't want to bust out of Kelly Planet. I gave you a suggestion how we make it environment make no sense in that situation. And to build on that, we should tell the state that the state doesn't do it, we should do it ourselves. Yeah, the planning and development. You can do an RFP, ask for an EIS on looking at the alternatives of nothing. Build a bridge that's auto centered or rail. And give us the information back and we can make a bold decision based on the information. And we can also do an upgrade item. Let's see what that is. I'm not saying rail from here, plus we're looking at that. I'm saying rail from here. Most of the infrastructure there, most of the right of way. Why we're not even thinking about it, I won't pay attention to it beyond it. So that's what I would encourage considering. Or the council, city to do. Part of the situation of the city budget, the budget line item for planning development, they issue an article.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, Jeff.
I'm sorry, my friend, what's your name again? Victor, I just want to say, like, I love everyone's testimony today, but by far my favorite testimony of the night, and on a personal level, I'm rooting for you. I think we're all rooting for you, your inspiration. Please stay connected with us. I would love to exchange my contact info, if that's all right, after this. So hang around after this.
Great, there's no further business. Do I have a motion? So. Second. All in favor? Aye. Excellent, we're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody want to join us? I got some papers.